We're live. Good morning. It's us again. I'm back. So it's Microbiz Matters Day. It's a whole year since the last one. I can't believe it. We were in Preston last year, and the year before that we were in Manchester. Rianne was with us in Manchester. No, we weren't. The year before that we were in Hull, and the year before that we were in Manchester.
Then
London. With Charlie and all the guys from Pimlico Plumbers. We had a great message from Charlie Mullins, but he looked far warmer and sunnier than it was this morning down on the North Bay. Have you seen the lives already? Jen's done a whole hour down on Scarborough South Bay. It's lashing down. I can't describe it in any other way. It's hailing, and she looked like a weather girl. She looks amazing. She's got a brolly and she's got a fur on. Anyway, enough of me and that. Andy, Zoe and Rianne, thank you for coming to join me today. We're waiting for Viv to join us. I hope we can find Viv, but this is the beauty of live stuff. And this is the beauty of what we do on Microbiz Matters Day. It's always a bit bonkers. Now, Rianne has been involved with not only Microbiz Matters Day, but with me for 10 years. And so she knows how bonkers it is. And look, this is my flat cap that Rianne creates. We'll talk a little bit in a minute. But this says Yorkshire right through it. Yorkshire. So, Andy, tell us a little bit about you. We had the absolute pleasure of meeting you when we were allowed out, when we could travel to places. And in fact, you tell us about you, and I'm just going to get something off my mantelpiece. I've had to use the sign to hide my gin stash.
Well done. Yes.
Otherwise, it actually makes me look like somebody that drinks far too. That's a lot of micro business owners, to be fair. Anyway, how are you? Andy and Zoe, tell us all about you, who you are, what you do, and I'm just going to grab something.
Okay. Go on
then. We're Shed One Distillery, based in Ulverston. We started off in a little 7 by 7 foot shed at the back of our house. When we moved into the house, 2 sheds, and the still ended up in Shed One. We've now moved over the road to the Yorkshire Mart in the old calf shed, and that's 20 foot by 100, and it's got a public space when we can use it. People can come and make their own gins, do stuff like that, have events. We have a larger distillery, a bit of a warehouse, so we were just gearing up to move on, and then we got shut down. But we've adapted.
But we did also manage to become a wedding venue as well, and we got our first wedding in between the 2 lockdowns. Which was rather lovely. So yes, gin lovers can now get married amongst the stills and the botanicals in the distillery. And also with the event space, it's been absolutely lovely meeting people, including Tina, who came to see us. And
yeah, so Neil and I came along to see you. I think it was August, wasn't it? In that brief spell, and we came to the lakes for a few days, and we stayed with a micro business, and we came to see you, and we are loving
Is that the Chili Fest?
This is Chili Fest. We've actually drunk the others.
Well, on that note, I have to show you, because we've relaunched our Shed Loads of Love, and because of
Valentine's Day,
it included 24 karat gold, silver, pane leaf. So just to add, I think we all need a bit of sparkle at the moment, so we decided to put some of that in our Shed Loads of Love. And so that's out now. So there we go.
So yeah, we went along and tasted. So you're a maker, creator, and manufacturer in Ulverston, aren't you? That's where you're based.
That's right, South Lakes, Cumbria. Yeah.
We've got a lot of northern guests today. Northern. We're northern. We've got the northerners.
Yeah. Andrew's born and bred in Bury, so
down in Lancashire. So yeah.
Cool. Rianne, tell us a little bit about you. Not that I need to know anything about you because I
you know everything anyway. But, I'm Rihanna Miller, and I have a flat cap and baker boy company, headwear company, based in Leeds, and we make flat caps, predominantly flat caps, but kind of a bit more funky than Farmer. And it's all local, so everything's locally sourced within sort of 20 miles of my house. That was the kind of, so it was a hobby that somehow has spiraled into a bit of a nightmare.
we'll come to that one. We'll come to that one.
Shop in Knaresborough on October the 5th. I closed my first shop in Knaresborough on November the 3rd. I reopened on December the whatever, and I closed yesterday. So I'm tired, but we're still here.
And it had actually taken you, what, 8 years?
To open a shop?
Yeah. 9 years? 10 years?
Well, it was kind of, about 5 years I was kind of toying with the idea back and forwards. And when the one in Knaresborough came up, I thought, that's a good idea. But clearly it wasn't a very good idea. So yeah, it's been a bit tough, really, but yeah.
But you were brave enough to even consider opening a bricks and mortar premises in what you knew to be a year that was hit by pandemic. We were actually going into all sorts of economic uncertainty with Brexit and different things, but you still chose to open a shop. You, much to one or two members of your family's sort of dismay, because you have a great support network, don't you, from your mum, and also your brother. Your brother's an accountant. Rianne's a creative, and her brother's an accountant. What a mix is that? I mean, my God. And I had the pleasure of meeting Rihanna at an event in Leeds, a workshop for women that I was delivering. And a lovely lady called Avril McGilvery, who I've stayed very good friends with, she ran a centre called the Millen Women's Centre, and Rianne came along to that centre. So that was probably more than 10 years ago.
It was. And my boys were like 2 and 4. They were tiny.
Yeah, so they're now 18 and 20.
Yeah.
And then, so I knew her then, and then I saw her on the front page of the Yorkshire Post, that great regional paper. One Saturday morning, I was sat outside. It was July. I was going to the races with Neil, my husband. I can just remember it so clearly. And her picture with a flat cap and Hooks the dog was on the front of the Yorkshire Post. And I just cried. Because I knew the backstory of this lady and what she'd gone through, but I contacted her, and actually this glamorous picture on the front of the Yorkshire Post wasn't really reflecting where she was at in her business at the time. And yeah, so it was, and I think that is so, it's a case for so many micro business owners, because we have to show that positive outside when behind us there's all sorts of shit going on. And Rianne's business is called Kemperdoo Miller, and you can find it at kemperdoo.com. She could have said that, but I just know it.
Thank you.
And I think for me, and I'm going to come in a minute to discuss some of Rianne's stuff and Andy and Zoe's, but I'd like to welcome another lady, Viv Parry, who I'm also very pleased to have got to know over these years. And Viv joined us in Manchester. In fact, Viv, did you meet Rianne in Manchester in 20 whatever year it was? 18.
I can't remember doing, so forgive me for that, Rianne. I'm sure if I had met you, I'd remember. I don't think I did. But
tell us a bit about you, Viv. Viv used to be based in Leeds as well. She had a business in Leeds, because I remember way back when I was doing that level stuff, and Viv was, I could see pictures of Viv with cakes.
Yeah, I had a bakery, not a retail bakery, a bakery manufacturing company, which was on Kirkstall Road. So I built that up to quite a big business, and then exited when I brought investors in, which wasn't a pretty process. So yeah, quite a few sales from that. But I love manufacturing, and I can completely relate to that. Yorkshire Post, put your image out there. There are times when I did loads of PR stuff through the bakery, and you had to put on your best bib and tucker, and inside you're absolutely dying because you're thinking of all the things that are going wrong in your business, because that's what you focus on. You never get up every day and go, oh, this and this is going right. You go, oh, this is going wrong. You're always thinking about the stuff that's going wrong, not the stuff that's going right. So I think that's maybe something to kind of reflect on, particularly now, is to continually think about the stuff and actually congratulate yourself and your team for the stuff that's going well. Because if you're not careful, you can particularly, I had my bakery during the recession, but I was fortunate to be in a network of people where we didn't talk about the recession. We just talked about the growth of our businesses. And you can get coloured by the sort of macro environment and forget about your own achievements. So yeah.
Tell us what you're doing now, Viv.
Well, I went through a period of doing consultancy, which I will go back to in the fullness of time. But now is not the same. Now is not the time where people are particularly interested in bringing consultants into the business. Everybody's hunkering down and cutting costs. So I was doing that, and now I'm happily working in manufacturing again, not in food, but for a small business based in Leeds who manufacture printed circuit boards. So quite a new business, but we've gone through a very exhausting process during lockdown. I was in March, I was working as a consultant for them. And then we made a decision that I should go full time, and we started on a digital transformation project, which seemed like madness, but actually is absolutely the right thing to do, because it's all about creating a scalable business. So we're now in a position where we can go for growth following that. But the same issues as I'm sure you're all encountering are there. Is the constant backdrop of sort of anxiety and uncertainty, but you just kind of have to keep putting your big girl pants on and getting on with what you believe to be the right thing.
I had my big girl pants in November when I had my operation from a wonderful shop in Knaresborough called Sheerblish Lingerie. So anyway, just thought I'd share that one with you. I'm all for plugging a micro business whenever I can, and it was because you mentioned Morning, Jane. Yeah. So sorry, Zoe, I cut you up there talking about big girl pants.
No, I just said Andrew's big girl pants are absolutely huge. You should see them.
Yeah, got me thermal on.
I mean, you guys moved. When did you move into the cattle market in Ulverston? When did you?
But the thing was, it was October 2019, and when we had our grand opening, which was exactly 3 years since we had our opening of the shed. Which we launched our company, and we were growing it. And as you say, I mean, this is a very emotional, but we'd really started growing it. As I said, we are and still the first and only distillery in Cumbria that has gin making experiences. So that was starting to bring people in, and people getting very interested in coming from different areas of the country to come and make their own gin. The afternoon G&Ts were taking off beautifully. We created a botanical inspired afternoon G&T. So the sweet treats had all the botanicals that were in the gin and things like this, which we've continued during lockdown with deliveries and click and collects. But the fact was, I mean, by March, we actually had on the books bookings for a couple of European travel agency guys to come and see us, national reporters, journalists coming to see us. They were all in the book about to come. So we knew things were just about to go boom, and we just had to shut the whole thing down. So it was, pretty destroying.
I think
Of course, then we had the whole sanitizer thing, which opened our eyes to everything that was really going on in the country. And that was quite emotional.
Yeah.
Very briefly, we had a phone call from the local hospice asking us if we were able to make sanitizer, and of course it's a different license to the one that you do for alcohol. Anyway, HMRC were fast tracking them, said get on, use the alcohol you've got, that's fine. But of course, all our funds, all our monies had stopped. Wholesale had stopped everything. So we made some with what we had, and then we put a crowdfunding page up, and amazingly, within just a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, the public and a couple of businesses had given us £6,500. So we took the 6.5 grand and we just made sanitizer and gifted it to all the voluntary groups and the charities and the NHS and everybody around Cumbria that we could possibly get in touch with. So we started a whole new business overnight, which it was like a social enterprise, really. There wasn't any money in it, but we knew we had to do it. We're very, very glad we did. But it was a massive eye-opener as to what people were truly going through during it. And thank God we could help. And we are always grateful to the people who gave us the money so we could do it.
Yeah.
So we never stopped during lockdown, but there was always something going on, and then we created other products, etc. So I'm just saying the emotional side of it has been absolute rollercoaster.
Yeah, when the second phone call that Zoe took was from the ambulance service, so we thought, well, if they haven't got sanitizer, there's something desperately wrong here.
Yeah.
I mean, things have improved and factories have been built to make the stuff now, so it's a different story. But at the start, it really was an eye opener.
There were carers going in to look after elderly people in their own homes, and none of them had PPE for a week. They were still going and looking after these people. Anyway, it was.
And I think this is community, because actually we're going to listen to Robert pre-record. Well, when we're going to what's the word? He's going live. Is the interview at 20? God, a minute. I think I need breakfast. I don't function very well. Robert is all about community and business community, and I think that's what's important. I mean, it's like Viv said about when she was in Leeds and she was in a community of people that were all feeling positive. I was on Radio York at 7:20 talking about community and the importance of it, and actually how we all come together. And I know, Rianne, you've opened the shop in Knaresborough, and it's brought all sorts of things for you. The community aspect has been good, but it's also made
anybody from Knaresborough is listening. You're amazing. Like, they have just. I feel like I'm like the adopted child of Knaresborough. Honestly, everybody's just. It's like I've been there. I've only been there I've only been open for 7 weeks in total. And, the welcome, the way that everybody's embraced it, the support, it's just been incredible. I mean, absolute hats off to Yorkshire. Incredible. I can't, honestly, But
it's also brought for you some other sort of questioning about what you want to do, hasn't it? Because you're Leeds-based, but you went to a small North Yorkshire market town that was quite different in its mindset, though they've accepted you very well. You've made some decisions yourself about your own business and what you want to do, haven't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as it's been a really positive experience, it's obviously we've all had, as you said, it's been very emotional for everybody. It's been a real, even if my business has actually done a lot really well through lockdown because it's all online, and when the shop's open, it's done very well. But from an emotional perspective, we've had a lot of time to think, obviously. And I've made that we're actually moving abroad. So we're gonna, partly because I think the values of why I set the business up, which was that I love Yorkshire, I believe that Britain was this diverse, progressive, global place, and I'm not sure that the values of why I set the business up, I don't know that I believe that that's where Britain's headed at the moment, particularly under this government. And the two I'm really struggling to reconcile the business ethics with my personal ethics. And we've decided we're moving to Portugal because I feel European. I'm a European. My family's more European than British. But we're international, and the whole kind of small mentality, I just can't. I'm really struggling. That's the honest truth. We're struggling with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because as I say, I know you personally. I've got to know you personally. In fact, Neil and I were out for dinner with you watching Boris make his announcement about locking down in November. And we were sat at a table with my microphone.
It was your celebratory meal to say well done because the shop was doing really well.
I know it was us treating you for that, and then but in the corner we've got the iPhone of Boris waiting for him to announce what's happening. And I think it's this roller coaster, isn't it, Viv? I mean, you do work with people, businesses, business owners. You have done in the past. I know what you do, and I know you do amazing work. But it's actually that. I mean, I found myself the last week of April and the first week of May last year, I just had a complete meltdown. I actually, this is positive, took my positive pants were all in the wash, I'll tell you, because I just couldn't. I couldn't see where we were going. I actually know some of that wasn't completely all about just what was going on around in the environment. It was what was going on with me. It was my age and it was some health issue that I was having. I now know that. But that's not the point. I mean, this afternoon at 2:00, we'll be doing your business and you session, which is my chosen subject. If I was going on Mastermind, it would be my chosen subject. But I think the problem when we are a micro business owner is that the well-being of us impacts on the well-being of our business, and the well-being of our business impacts on the well-being of us. And it's very hard sometimes to be able to separate it. It's like Rian says about the personal and the business issues. And I know, Viv, that you've been through all sorts of stuff in business as well, haven't you? And
yeah, I don't think that we should actually try and separate it. I think one thing that I'm taking out of all of this, and my colleagues and I say it all the time, is just try and be a bit kinder to people, because everybody's going through it. So cut people a little bit more slack. You don't necessarily need to respond to an email. If I get an email that's a little bit touchy, I just think I'm not going to dignify that with a response. I'll just step back. I don't need to. There's enough things to be anxious about without sort of trying to enter into a battle that doesn't really matter. So I think we've all, and it's an awful time that we're living through, but there are some very positive things that are going to come out of it. And kind of to your point, Rianne, I hope that a lot more people will see what's happened, and particularly now, for God's sake, with what's happened in America, to start actually saying, look, these are the things that matter. We should be hanging our heads in shame as a country at the minute, because our way of being and living and treating each other doesn't work.
Oh.
And I think if we can all, those people who really care, and I think a lot of it is in the small micro business world, that we've got to fight for the things that we believe in, and not let those horrible, negative, short-termist, self-serving policies overcome what we want to do. I'm in business primarily because I want to help other people, and I want to give other people opportunities. The people that work for us, I'm constantly trying to develop people. I'm all right now. I've got a roof over my head. My children are grown up. They've all got roofs over their heads. I don't need to accumulate any more wealth for myself. I get my buzz from helping other people. And I think a lot of what's gone wrong with our country is that people have just gone, well, I've got this, I want this now, I want this now, I want this now, I want this now, I want this now. Just stop. Have you got enough? Have you got enough for you to live a decent life? And then if you've got that, well, then help other people. I think all the negativity comes from people just being selfish and not considering other people and what the impact of their way of being is on other people. Sorry, I sound a bit preaching. It's a bit early in the morning for all of this, but it must have been whirring away in my head without articulating it. But, I want to get up every morning and go, can I make a difference? Doesn't matter how small that difference is. can I make the world a better place? You know, and I do that with my children as well. You know, I look at them and think, well, what sort of value decisions are they making? And hopefully the way I live my life, it means that they live a better life as well. So
I do think that's true with, because I mean, I've got older children, and I had the conversation with Rianne earlier this week about her kids. And I think we can see with Andy and Zoe and what they did with the crowdfunding and the £6,500. That was £6,500, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we talk about value, we talk about community, we talk about coming together. On the interview I did for Radio York this morning, I talked about exactly that. I talked about the importance of this. I mean, the government for too long have criticised. They've used the word lifestyle business and been critical of that word, that terminology. But actually, the terminology is accurate, because most of us are running our micro businesses for a lifestyle reason. We want to get up in the morning and make a difference. For God's sake, Tony and I co-founded Microbiz Matters Day. We launched it in 2012 on the 9th of January on the beach. We have co-funded it, apart from support from people like Sage and organisations that actually work very closely with micro business owners. And we have co-funded it for all these years because we want to make a difference for micro business owners. And that's what we do. And, you know, part of what I do, and Steve on Radio York this morning said about, you know, if you're giving back to other business owners, are you actually focusing on your business? Well, I have a give a little back scheme. I give 20% of my time back to charities and good causes. That allows you to build it into your business. How you do it, it doesn't matter. And, you know, it's like the stuff that Rianne does. It's all about community. And that's what Robert's going to be talking about in his interview that he did with Tony. So, Zoe, yes, you don't have to just shout. Don't put a hand up, just shout.
Well, I was just going to say, because that is one of the things, ever since we started the business, the community was a very important part and continues to be an important part to us, as does the charity side. We started the Marmalade Fund, you know, with the marmalade we make from part of the ingredients from the gin. And we wanted that to happen. But it is interesting how sometimes you get criticised for it. And when we did the hand sanitizer, I have to say the very vast majority of people said, thanks for doing it, that's great. But there were a couple, 2 or 3 comments we got, particularly from people in business in the area, who said, well, you should be selling it. Why aren't you selling it? Why are you giving it away? Why are you doing it this way? You should be thinking, you're not able to make as much money, your wholesale business is gone. Why are you bothering with this when you should be just looking into your business? And even like the Cumbrian GDP was mentioned at one point. And so we're like, well, we're doing what we're doing because this is the way that we can sleep at night. And this is the way that we feel. And no, we can't sell it and we don't want to sell it. And people have done this. And one conversation was had a few months later with one particular person. They went, no, I shouldn't have said that and I'm sorry. But there was that underlying feeling from some people that why were you bothering with that? What was it going? What were you going to get from it?
Yeah, I think all of that, Zoe, is like whenever you do, you can't do anything in the world that has an impact without somebody going, well, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, it's weird though, because your own mindset doesn't think like that. You know, your own mindset is, well, this is where you have to. This is an issue. We can help. We must help.
Yeah, and
so the people you go, as you say, and you're going, well, lead by example, and the government, kind of the example they are giving, doesn't really go down that route very much.
No.
So,
is it wrong that I want to drink gin and it's not even 8:30 yet?
We're waving enough bottles around.
I did say earlier that my side's hiding my gin stash, and I've got a little. Anyway, so you could join the after party at 5 o'clock if you go on the Facebook group. We're having a Zoom after party, and you can bring your own tipple, and we're having a quiz. So yeah, it's all going to be. So we will be drinking gin then. I can assure you. My God, we've normally got. So we should have been at Saltwater Cafe, which I did stand outside of for about 2 seconds this morning before it started blowing a hoolie at me and sleeting. And yeah, we should have been at Saltwater Cafe because Zoe and Andy haven't had the pleasure of being at one of our live events, but 2022 we will invite you to Scarborough because we ain't moving now. We've Yorkshire in Business are hosting this and they're going to carry on. And actually we've been in London 3 times, we've been to Manchester, we've been to Hull. I think the closest we were to you was probably Preston last year and EKM. And we'd already decided we were coming back to Scarborough. We were going to be at Saltwater Cafe Bar, but we always have a green room studio behind the scenes with guests in there and other people that are visited with food and booze, normally red wine, where Tony's concerned. And we had all of that in Manchester, didn't we, Dave? And Rianne was there, as I say. And yeah, and Rianne was at Pimlico Plumbers in London with us as well, weren't we? Yeah, that was, we had a message from Charlie that we put out at 7 o'clock and he's there in his t-shirt with the sun shining, so he must be in Marbella. But that's the beauty, you know, well, he can't because he's got a plumbing business, but, you know, a lot of businesses these days, you can actually run your business from wherever you are in the world, which it doesn't matter if you, I mean, whether you will do flat caps in Portugal or not, I don't know, Rianne, but, you know, you can do that. You can move to different parts of the world. And the very first Microbiz Matters Day in 2015, I came live like this from France because Tony and I didn't think it was going to work. So I booked to go skiing with friends and family. And all of a sudden, Sage and Google for Works offered us support, and Tony's having to go to London. We've got all these guests. And I'm sat in France doing this. But actually, that is what, you know, what's important is for us, I feel, that there are some businesses you can't take and move, but it's what's in our head and how we can remain positive and remain true to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think if there's nothing else that comes out of that, it is about that. And I think the one thing about today, my God, I'm losing my voice already and it's only 8:32. God knows what I'll be like at 5 o'clock. The one thing that there are a lot of people struggling and there are a lot of people that have been excluded. And I think what I want, and Tony and I definitely want to do out of today, is to help them understand there are people there that want to help them. Because actually that is what is important. And I'm sure for you, Zoe and Andy, I'm sure that none of us are generating the income that we're used to generating at the moment or that we plan to generate. But actually we have to adapt.
Oh, yeah.
And as a business owner, we can adapt. And I've been self-employed for nearly 33 years. I know I don't look, well, I do look old enough at the moment. I look bloody old. But I've been self-employed for nearly 33 years. I'm the daughter of self-employed parents. My grandfather, my dad's dad had a corner shop. And I think in those 33 years, I have had some serious ups and downs, serious. In fact, my work business was a retail business, which I told Rianne before she opened the shop. And I think, you know, it's important for us to understand there are peaks and troughs, but we've got to surround ourselves with the right people that will be there to help us and help us get through. And it's okay to not be okay, but actually we need to make sure that we are there to help each other. So
like this, you also find out who those people are as well. I think you find out who are the ones who are still with you, you know, as opposed to when we're all networking and doing this or doing that. It's when this sort of time you go, you've got my back and you've got my back. It's good to be with you and you're giving me positivity. And I think that's also something which is interesting that comes out of these kind of crises. That you come out with stronger relationships.
Yeah, I think you probably end up with fewer but stronger,
Exactly. Yeah.
because you haven't got the time to deal with the sort of peripheral stuff, have you? You just focus on the.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know whether it's appropriate to say, but if any of you want support, then I'm happy to offer, time just for a chat or whatever. I'd love at some point to come and see you, Zoe and Andy. It sounds great what you're doing. But
Thank you.
yeah, just feel free to drop me a line, probably LinkedIn or something. Just drop me a message.
We will.
I think that's a really important thing, that we are there to support each other, as I say. So what's the one thing you want to take into 2021, Zoe and Andy? What's the one message you would give? Well, what's the one message you would give yourselves and you would give other micro business owners?
It's all going to be all right. I think, yeah.
Congratulations. As Viv was saying, we had this conversation only a couple of weeks ago. You've got to stand back and congratulate yourself. You have to. Every win, enjoy every single win, regardless of how small it is, because we most definitely have got very lost, not just over the last year, but since we started the business. And we've realized, we got an award, we have this has happened. We're going, okay, right, but we've got to achieve more.
Yeah.
What's the next thing? So I think for us, the biggest thing is to sit back and enjoy it, even for half an hour, 5 minutes, raise a glass, do whatever, and remind yourself why you got into it.
What about you, Rianne?
I think
year for you.
Staying true to your ethics. So for me, I started it from, it was never a business, it was a hobby, it was a passion, it was ethical, it was coming from a place that was kind of, like a soul place, if you like. And that doesn't always go well with business, because business is built from a capital place, not from a soul place. So all the way through, I've been for 10 years now, you get an offer of, 100 grand investment and you've got children you can't feed, and your brain's thinking, oh, but imagine. But all the way through, I've always come back to, why did I start it? How will I sleep at night? Am I getting up? Am I passionate? Am I still doing it from a soul place, not from a financial place? Which is a tricky one. It's a tricky sort of line to walk in business. And obviously I've come to the end of this particular journey in Yorkshire anyway, England anyway, because I feel like my soul's not aligned anymore. And that's a bit hippie to say, but I think you just kind of got to check your spreadsheets and your soul sheets in equal measure. So that would be my advice.
Viv, what about you?
I think mine's around just trying to stay positive and sort of, checking in on what you have got rather than what you haven't got, and actually drinking your own Kool-Aid, because, I worked in food for a long time, and bloody hell, it's hard. It's really hard. We were manufacturing wrapped flat pack, and we were being asked to produce them for 23.5 pence. A bloody half pence doesn't exist, but that was still the price point. So I no longer shop at supermarkets, and I support local manufacturers and local businesses. We have we did have a monthly market. I live in Macclesfield, but they did mini versions of that in the run up to Christmas. I get a veg box delivered now, because I believe that small businesses, particularly in food and drink, need to survive. And yet it's not the cheapest, but we should stop making our decisions on food around price if we're lucky enough to be able to do that. And I think it's just everything you do should be true to your own beliefs. I'm with you, Rianne. It's not hippie. And the fact that that you feel that you need to excuse it is what's going wrong in the world, isn't it?
You feel like you're apologizing for your ethics all the time.
Yeah, but the loudest voices aren't always right, are they?
True.
So it's 22, and it's nearly 22. So I want to thank you guys for being part of this. You've been amazing, and as always. And I just want to say, microbiz matters. and we'll all be in this together, and let's keep rocking. And thank you for being part of Makers, Creators and Manufacturers session. And now it's Robert talking about business community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.